The few paranoid, oppressive, violent people want leverage. They want to have leverage over people. They want to have leverage over the people residing in the territories over which they have power. They want leverage. They don't want people believing they have an infinite number, diversity, and variety of lives to live. They want people to believe that they could lose their one and only life. They don't want people believing that they have an infinite number, diversity, and variety of bodies to give. They want people to believe that their body could be locked up in a jail cell. They want leverage. And a belief in the value of pessimistic myths gives them leverage. And that explains why we're presented by the few paranoid, oppressive, violent people who rule over our domestic territories with this idea of the cultural war between atheism and Satanism, between atheists and Satanists. They're presenting to us two different forms of pessimism. And claiming that there's a war between them, and that, which side are you on? Which side of the war are you on? As if there's only two sides. There's more than two sides here. There's also the possibility of believing in the value of the most optimistic myths. But why would you want to believe in the value of the most optimistic myths? Because optimism correlates with happiness, good health, and prosperity. And we have a common need and aspiration. Our common need and aspiration is to achieve and maintain happiness, good health, and prosperity. So by basically presenting people with two alternatives, Satanism and atheism, and claiming, which side do you want? Which one do you choose? They're giving you a false dichotomy, a false choice, because there's another alternative, and it is the belief in the value of the most optimistic myths. And they want you to think that's wishful thinking, because why? Because they have no leverage over people who believe in the value of the most optimistic myths. That's why. No leverage whatsoever. And people who believe in the value of the most optimistic myths will not tolerate criminal behavior, being ruled over by criminals and all the rest of that. They will not collaborate. And a tyrant and a criminal regime needs more than anything, what it needs more than anything else is collaborators. And guess what? Atheists and Satanists both make very good collaborators. They're satanic religions, the discovery religions that are dominant within our culture, are very good at turning communities of faithful believers into the slaves. Slaves of the few paranoid, oppressive, violent people. Very good at that. That's why the few paranoid, oppressive, violent people are always promoting these pessimistic myths, because they know it gives them leverage. And the same thing with atheism. Atheism gives them leverage too, because if you think this is the one and only life you have to live and the one and only body you have to give, and all you are is a seed in a body, then you're going to be much more likely to be wanting to live your best life. And then that means you can get cornered into collaborating with tyrants and their criminal regimes. You can get sucked into that. Because you start telling yourself, an atheist will start telling themselves that they want to live their best life. That's why we saw some famous atheist comedian go and kiss the ring of a tyrant. Because that famous atheist comedian wanted to do what? He wants to live his best life, that's why. Yeah. So I believe in the value of the most optimistic myths. I'm telling you how things look to me from my point of view. And I would say to those people who also believe in the value of the most optimistic myths, do not collaborate. Do not try to live your best life. Make personal sacrifices for the good of the people and for the good of the country. If we get enough people not collaborating, then what will happen is the tyrant will lose power. It's only because the tyrant has found collaborators that he's capable of gaining power over us. And we can be pretty much assured that their collaboration with a criminal regime, which is what it is basically, a criminal regime ruling over us right now, their collaboration with a criminal regime is indicative of a low esteem of self and a low esteem of the world and a low esteem of the future, a low esteem of the totality, and a desire on their part to live their best life because they believe this is the one and only life they have to live, this is the one and only body they have to give, and all they are is a seed in a body. They believe these pessimistic myths. Their hearts are already filled with sorrow, fear, and anger because they've discovered a truth. The truth is, it appears one day the seed body of self will die. So because their hearts are filled with sorrow, fear, and anger, that's just more pushes them in the direction of collaborating with a criminal regime, collaborating with the tyrant, collaborating with a few paranoid, oppressive, violent people who concentrate wealth and power in their own hands and rule over domestic territories. So, in order to stop this takeover of our country by a tyrant and their tyrant's collaborators, we must peel away from the tyrant those collaborators that we can peel away.